It's hard to imagine your face anymore. This year a letter never came through my door. You'd sign it all, my love, always, just not right now. You never even bothered to ask me how. How are you doing? How's life treating you? How do you feel now that I'm older and you weren't there to watch me grow? You claim me as your daughter without my permission. You told me I was far too young to make such decisions, yet you blame me for your faults and your lack of intuition. But you and I will never be my father. You're my ammunition. Mother faced you for as long as she could, but fighting monsters is misunderstood. In the eyes of a child, bruises come from playing, but the glass on the kitchen table suggests what they're not saying. Oh, my love always doesn't mean much now. I'm glad you never bothered to ask me how. How are you doing? How's life treating you? How do you feel now that I'm older and you weren't there to watch me grow? You claim me as your daughter without my permission. You told me I was far too young to make such decisions, yet you blame me for your faults and your lack of intuition. But you and I will never be my father. You're my ammunition. If I fire my last bullet at you, would you catch it and deal with the consequences? Or would you scrape up the gunpowder residue to build a shell and shoot back at my fences? So how are you doing? How's life treating you? How do you feel now that I'm older and you weren't there to watch me grow? You claim me as your daughter without my permission, and you told me I was far too young to make such decisions, yet you blame me for your faults and your lack of intuition. But you and I will never be my father. You're my ammunition.
Hi, I am Shelby Logan Warren with Produce Like a Pro, and today I am going to be showing you guys what happens when we take 6 different 1176 compressors and we compare them. So the first thing that we're going to do is I'm going to show you guys how we've got this set up. So we've got Leoni in the booth over there, and we've got 2 mics. One that is actually fixed to the body of the acoustic guitar and is aiming roughly at the 12th fret. And to try and keep this as even as possible, it's a fixed body mic. It's actually attached onto the body of the acoustic. And then of course, to keep it in the spirit of the video, we're using the Warm Audio WA8000, which is their version of the C800G. All of that is running into the console. So the reason why I'm not using any external pre's is the SSL is known for its very clean signal path. It's probably the cleanest signal path that we can get in amongst all of the different bits of outboard pre's that we've got here. SSLs are very much known for transformerless based channels, so you know, no coloration. We've got guitar on channel 2, vocal on 3, but we've not actually got the channels set to go to any of the buses. We're just taking the direct outs via the track assigns and going to send number 4, which via the patch bay, via this absolute spaghetti mess that you can see over here, is coming out of the track bus assigns into the line input of channel 4. So that's just my convoluted way of summing 2 channels into one, and I'm blending those 2 mics together. We could have used one mic for the whole thing, but I really wanted to make sure that we had a nice close mic for the vocal and a close mic for the guitar, try and get a nice whole sound. So channel 4 is the summed audio of these 2, and we're taking the direct outs of that and we're going into Logic. That is going to act as our no compressor channel. It's our dry channel. We're going to record that. We're going to be able to hear it without any compression whatsoever. What we're also going to do is we're going to send the guitar and vocal onto track assign 1, which I've got routed into, this is where things get insane. I've got this coming out of over here, track bus out 1 into the parallels. So the great thing about the parallels on the patch bay is it allows you to take an input signal and split it out in parallel to all of these other outputs, and they can work bidirectionally. So in this case, we're running the signal in, and then using these, we're sending them out across to every, in fact, if you want to come around here, they're coming out of the parallels and we're sending them to every 1176 that we've got. So of course today, the stars of the show are the 3 warm audios that we've got. So we've got the original WA76. This is based on the revision D of the original Ureis. We've got the later stereo version of the revision D WA76 and the revision A, also known as the Blue Stripe. And then, of course, we've got a couple of original Ureis. So this one over here is the Rev G and the Rev H. For a bit of fun, we've got this guy down here. This is the hairball audio kit version of the 1176. And I deliberated whether or not we should include this, but then I thought, my philosophy with the 1176 is that there are no 2 1176s that sound alike, as well as the fact that it's 2 Blue Stripes that we can directly compare. You guys are going to hear just how insanely different they're going to sound. For the record, I've not done any comparison yet. I'm going in blind with this. So you guys are along for the ride with me. And I'm telling you, my prediction right now is that none of these are going to sound anything alike. So we'll see how accurate my prediction is going to be. This is the WA76D2. So this is the stereo channel 1176. It's essentially 2 of these guys in one unit. I'm sure some of you are probably thinking, well, hold on, isn't there like a stereo version of the 1176 called the 1178?
How are you doing?
But that's a common misconception, because the 1178 is kind of its own flavour in of itself. Let's switch over straight to this one.
Yet you blame me for your faults and your lack of intuition. But you and I will never be my
So obviously, we are driving these compressors pretty hard, relatively speaking. We would never normally run acoustic guitar and vocals this hard into an 1176 because I would try and do it in a transparent way, but what I'm trying to do today is establish the personalities of each one, and the way you do that is you drive them. You squeeze every bit of saturation out of it, right? And the great thing about this is I can just go kind of crossfade between. And like off the bat, I can hear the difference. This is like smishing it so much more. Whereas the stereo version, you know, we are running it in mono mode, so effectively there shouldn't be any difference between the two. But like, I can see the gain reduction on the needles is like almost perfectly matched. So we're kind of hovering around -10, -20 dBs of compression, which is obviously insane. And this one is doing exactly the same, kind of between 10, 20.
Yet you blame me for your faults and your lack of intuition.
Got very different personalities. It's kind of nuts how much of a difference there is there. But if I let's start to play between the two different Rev A's that we've got. So our little hairball 1176 down here is the wild card. Very interesting. I've not even turned up the warm audio one yet, and I can already hear a distinct kind of EQ curve to it. Let's switch to the warm audio Rev A.
How's life treating you? How do you feel now that I'm older?
It's a little bit more sparkly on the top.
Watch me grow. You claim me as your daughter without my permission.
Much warmer sounding, ironically, because this is the hairball. There's a bit more sort of mid-range going on, and the saturation kind of in the low mids. It's a bit sort of woolly sounding. Not necessarily a bad thing if that's what you're going for, but the warm audio seems to kind of open up a bit more. And again, they're compressing by roughly the same amount, and we are hitting them by roughly the same amount.
Mother faced you for as long as she could.
I think the
fighting monsters is misunderstood in the eyes of a child. Bruises come from
another thing I've noticed with the warm audio Rev A is that there's a lot of sub content that's actually creeping through. Like the thumps are actually being felt, whereas on the hairball, it's almost like there's like a roll off. Like there's just nothing below like 80, 90 hertz. Very focused in the mid-range. We move on to the urei Rev G. We're now in old school land. We're now in the original run of 1176s, where these are the original guys, right? Before we start to do any comparisons, I would say off the bat, much more open. The saturation is actually really nice. Like there's a real kind of crispness to it. Here's the urei Rev H. The consequences, or would you scrape up the gunpowder residue? Much more dramatic.
To build a shell and shoot back.
It's kind of breaking up a bit more. The Rev H is, let's see, that's.
So how are you doing?
So that's the silver-faced one, and like, that actually surprises me because I feel like the Rev G, which is the black panel one, I feel like that's got more of a reputation for kind of having that kind of breakup kind of saturation. But I guess in this case, it may just be the way that the internal amplifiers are behaving. The thing is just because an 1176 has a certain reputation doesn't mean that carries through to all of them, because all of them will sound different, especially when you're dealing with old school original ureis. They would have gone through recaps and changes of other components, you know, other bits and bobs, resistors would have changed. entire signal paths may have changed, which will affect the way things sound. It's so smashed sounding. And just to compare, like, this is what it sounds like with no compression. So we're doing a lot. We're like smushing that waveform. It's like all of the transient information and all of the peaks have just been flattened.
How are you doing? How's life?
So let's compare the Rev H to the, what are we going to compare it to? Let's compare the Rev H to the Warm Audio Rev A.
You told me I was far too young to make such decisions. Yet you blame
It's less smashed, or at least it's less obviously smashed because there's less saturation in the mid-range. But overall, it's actually handling pretty well considering we are absolutely pinning the needle right now. But if you want to bring the camera around this way, it is kind of nuts how pinned these needles are. And like, don't worry, we'll do a round where we'll roll off some of the compression. We'll bring the compression right back. But yeah, we're hovering right in at like -10, -20. In this case, this Warm Audio Rev A is sounding so much more open compared to, say, well, the urei below it. If I switch over to that, roughly doing the same kind of thing, and yet they couldn't sound more different. That one's got like a proper sort of crunchy breakup to it. It's nuts. I knew there would be like differences. I knew there would be like a lot of drastic changes in personality between the different units, but I'll be honest, I'm actually kind of surprised at just how different they sound. It's like we're dealing with completely different compressors. It's not like we're dealing with two 1176s. So far, we've been really just smashing this. But let's be a bit more realistic about this. I mean, we'd never be doing this in a realistic setting. So let's, off the bat, bring the input gain right down. So now we're only really switching, well, actually, no, the peaks are still being really caught.
You never even bothered to ask me how are you doing?
That's really nice. All I did was turn down the input gain.
How do you feel?
And now all it's doing is just catching those peaks and just taming them. And anytime it does catch those peaks, it's adding a really nice warmth to it, which is like, for me, that's what I love about these ureis in particular. So let's maybe see if we can get that same kind of vibe from, well, from this Rev D right here. So if we switch over to that. God, that is smashed, isn't it? that's nuts. Let's try and match the gain reduction with the Rev G. Obviously, you know, cliche thing to say, but use your ears as much as you can, because everyone says it, right? Mixed with your ears, not your eyes. So we're going to flip between the two, see if we can get this as close as possible.
Would you catch it and deal with the consequences, or would you scrape up?
I feel like I've got them close, and at this point, it's actually kind of nuts because this is not twitching anywhere near as much as this guy.
How's life treating you?
But it still sounds like it's a bit more heavy-handed. rather than just capturing the peaks and saturating them, there's still an element of saturation across the board, which is actually, I mean, it's a really nice saturation. I remember when I was working on track and bass guitar for my band's album Vox Humana back in the day, long time ago. I got one of these warm audios and I fell in love with it. Tracked all of the bass guitar for the whole album through this, and I just cranked the input because I just loved this, like the distortion that it gave. I didn't use any other kind of saturation or distortion. I just relied purely just on the warm audio WA-76 for that just like crunchiness. So like in this case, it's interesting how much we have to compensate for that. And it's just a different flavor, isn't it? It's a nice like change of vibe. Moving on to the Rev H. Arguably our most crunchy, saturated, almost dirty sounding 1176, which is kind of weird because these Rev H's are known to be much more sparkly and open sounding. Is it because there's something wrong with it? Nope, it's just because it's an 1176 and they all sound different. But what we are going to do is we're going to compare this with the warm audio blue stripe above it, which is the Rev A. So many revisions. So let's try and get this Rev H dialed in a bit more realistically first.
I'm glad you never
Try and compensate with the output.
How are you doing? How's life treating you? How do you feel now that I'm older?
So just like with the other urei, we're only really catching those louder peaks. Sounding really nice and transparent, but yet controlled. But let's bring in the warm audio blue stripe and see what we can do with that. See if we can kind of get the same kind of vibe.
How are you doing? How's life treating you?
You know, I gotta say, that warm audio Rev A, the blue stripe, that's really impressive. Like, I've not even touched it and it already does sound just so much more like, the amount of sparkle and sort of like clarity to it is almost like what that Rev H should be sounding like in the first place, and yet doesn't. We're comparing different revisions here, but it's almost like that blue stripe is just hitting the spot. Either way, it's compressing, but in just a really kind of a transparent-ish way. You can hear it, but it's not as smooshed. It's amazing how that needle is just pinned. But let's bring it right down.
And you told me I was far too young to make such decisions, yet you blame me for your faults and your lack of intuition. But you and I will never be.
There we go. It's kind of doing the same thing, only catching those peaks. So we're now listening to the hairball blue stripe. And the thing about the hairball, as I said earlier, is it's kind of a wild card. It's got a very loud noise floor, so we're working with like limited bandwidth. The whole thing just kind of has to be shifted up much louder than the others to have it match the same kind of gain, but in the process you're bringing up a whole lot of hiss, and it's got a vibe. But relatively speaking, when you compare it to the warm audio blue stripe, we come back up to the desk up here and I just switch between the two Rev A's. So bear in mind, we've already tamed the warm audio one, so some of those peaks are getting through. But then when we hear the hairball Rev A, the hairball blue stripe, it really highlights the differences between the two. It's like Everything above 11, 12K is a little bit, I don't want to say rolled off, because it's not rolled off, it's still there, but it's just a little bit sort of more buttered. It's a bit more buttery. Like it's tamed. It's sounding a lot more tamed. Let's see if that's just because of the amount of gain going in, the amount of compression that's going on. So let's roll this back down. I'm going to try and get this to a point where it's only catching those peaks. First of all, let me just turn it all the way down. Look at that. The VU on the hairball is, at least in our case, has been notorious for never, ever, ever sitting at 0. So that's going to upset things a bit. Even when we calibrate it, when we stick a little screwdriver in the little calibration hole there, you come back the next day and it's just somewhere else. I sound very negative about the hairball, but I actually love it to pieces. So don't get the wrong idea. Yeah, there we go. God, I really have to crank it to try and compensate. So let's switch between the hairball and the warm audio. There's so much more output gain on the warm audio, and that just subsequently makes it so much easier to work with. So how are you doing? If I crank the output of this. How do you feel now that I'm older and you weren't there to watch me grow? You claim me and then we try and you told me there's still just so much more body to the warm audio one. Such decisions, yet you blame me for your faults. The hairball one is nice, and it is doing something nice. But that warm audio it's just retained all of that clarity, and all of that mid-range information is just like nicely preserved, and yet it's catching those peaks in just like such a tasty way. I'm very impressed. This is the last one of the bunch that is being absolutely smashed. So let's roll it off and give it a bit more of a realistic kind of setting. I'm glad you never bothered to ask me how are you doing? How's life treating? That's pretty well matched in the VU territory, but let's see if it works in the audio territory. Blame me for your faults and your lack of intuition, but you and I will never be my father. You're my ammunition. I'm going to bring the gain up on the Rev A just a bit. If I fire my last bullet at you, switch between two. And deal with the consequences, or would you scrape up the gunpowder residue to build a shell and shoot back at my fences? So how are you doing? Again, it's all about that mid-range. It's such the upper clarity is there on both of them. But the mid-range on the D2 is so much more smooth and tamed sounding, like it's being run through a little oven, a little pizza oven. It's got like a weird kind of crunch to it. I say weird, it's a nice crunch. It's a different flavor. And I think the thing about the two warm audios is that it really does sound like it's two different flavors of the same compressor, right? As opposed to, say, the hairball blue stripe and the warm audio blue stripe, which at this point sound not like the same compressor, but like entirely different compressors. You know, we're not even dealing with 1176s anymore when we're comparing those two. It sounds like, but yeah, within the world of the warm audio compressors, it's nice because clearly there's a level of calibration going on where you've got like a signature that's kind of threading through all of them, but then the actual flavors are able to pop through in a more like defined way. So in this case, what I love about those two is the like the complete change of vibe in the mid-range. There's definitely like, I can imagine use cases for the two different compressors, and I would personally gravitate towards the Blue Stripe for this kind of session more so than I would the D2, because I just love what it's doing across the board. But this has been a really fascinating look. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I feel like this has been quite a learning experience. 6 different distinct flavors of 1176. Don't know about you guys, but I'm a little bit blown away by just how different each of them are. It's like going to a buffet, and you've got 6 different like meals to choose from the different trays, but they're all the same thing. They're all the same kind of thing. You know, they're all spring rolls, right? But you pick up the spring roll, they all look the same, and you bite into one, and the inside, completely different filling. You weren't expecting that, were you? This is what's going on here. If you guys have got any experiences of comparing different 1176s, or if you've got different 1176s, would love to hear in the comments, especially if you've got different warm audio ones. I am a big fan of the warm audio 1176s because I think they do a great job of capturing like the vibe of what these units would have sounded like in well, when they came out of the factory, right? It's like the calibrated new component version of what it should be. And therefore, when you compare between them, you actually have a clear, distinct sense of like what they're supposed to be doing. Whereas like the ureis are like, okay, we've gone rogue. You know, it does what it does and we embrace it. Like I've heard 1176s, not here, but like elsewhere in the wider world, that are so broken. They're basically just like effects boxes, but people still love them. Like I've heard some where I'm just like, do you not want to get that fixed? That literally sounds broken. And then they've gone, no, I love it that way. And I think that's the way you kind of have to approach them. You either go in with a level of like, okay, original kind of vibe, or you go in with a embrace the mess. What do you guys think? Would love to know in the comments below. So leave them down there and I will be sure to reply and give you some feedback. Thank you for tuning into this video. My first video with Produce Like a Pro. Here's to many more.